Hi, I'm John, and thanks for stopping by JohnKing Expedition. I, just like most of you, have been thinking a lot about making some big plans for this year. For me, here living in the Northeast US, the goal is always pretty simple. Where do I find these potential destinations? Well, there are usually a few things I'm looking for while searching around. Can I do a trip with most of it off the pavement? Can the trip include multiple point-to-point-to-point stopovers? And most importantly, who can go? Now, of course, I want to share all of this with you, and I want to make sure that it answers the question that I get most often. Hey John, where's that place that you went to? Now, whether you consider yourself a camper or an overlander, you are likely always searching and planning for your next destination or exploration. I, like many of you, spend time flipping through online forums, groups, YouTube, or you name the platform. Over the last couple of weeks, I've come across two amigos on YouTube with the channel name Ride Amigos. And just as it says, it's about two friends, one from New York and the other from Venezuela, sharing adventures on their very capable dual sport motorcycles. It's truly a story about friendship, exploration, and creating memories that will last a lifetime. Go check them out. On the first episode that I watched, they took on the NEBDR, and this is how I found out about the Northeast Backcountry Discovery Route. The NEBDR is the newest and one of 13 backroad discovery routes created across the US. These routes were created by a non-profit organization of adventure motorcyclists. As per their website, ridebdr.com, on a BDR you will see rural America and get a taste of trails that shaped early American history. From western slopes and mining towns of the Gold Rush era to battlefields of the American Revolution, you can explore America's magnificent public lands by motorcycle, enjoying towering mountain vistas, expansive desert solitude, and sounds of wildlife, while riding incredibly fun terrain by motorcycle. Now at this point you're probably starting to wonder, wait, John, you keep saying motorcycle. Well, that is true, but from what I've seen, most of these trails can be done by a small to medium-sized 4x4. I also would like to highlight that I'm learning this as I go and will share this all with you. My experience as I've seen so far on the first section across 132 miles is that parts of it can be done by a 4x4, and a full-size truck will not get through these trails. Now at this point, I would like to highlight something that I feel is very important. These routes were created and shared with the Adventure Motorcyclist in mind. We as the camping overlanding community need to leave no trace, or simply leave it better than you found it. 2. Be respectful, as many of these trails pass through neighborhoods with children around. I passed several signs that said children at play, so watch your speed. 3. Only stay in designated camping areas. And 4. Support the local economies. This goes a long way. All of this to say that we need to do our part to keep these trails an asset to these communities. Now, one last thing before I move on to my experience on Section 1. As mentioned earlier, Ride BDR is a non-profit organization, and they have done amazing work to create all of these resources. Please, if you get a moment, check out their documentaries, and also consider supporting their general BDR fund. Your support will go a long way to continue to allow these trails and communities to thrive. Now, a little bit about the Northeast BDR and what I have planned for this year. The NEBDR covers 1,300 miles across 7 states, starting in New York, heading into PA, and then back into New York across Connecticut, Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. I knew from the beginning that not all of this route can be traveled with 4 wheels, but most of it can, so please do your research, and I'll be sure to share my experience as I cover each section. Now, the route starts in Hancock, New York, with a Section 1 of 8 covering 133 miles. Hancock, New York is in the western part of the state along the Delaware River. It is about 150 miles northwest, or about 3 hours from New York City. It starts along the river and immediately heads west, not north or east as you would think, into Pennsylvania. But I'm very happy they did this for 2 reasons. 1, it adds on another state to the NEBDR by including Pennsylvania, and 2, it allows Section 1 to quickly kick off with some pretty cool trails. As I left Hancock over the bridge into Pennsylvania, I was quickly surprised within less than a mile I was on these great trails. Alright, so here we go. Just stepped off the road onto the first non-paved part of the route here in Pennsylvania, and quickly gaining some elevation here. I'm looking over my left-hand shoulder back down at the Delaware River. Just crossed the bridge from New York into PA. I'm not really quite sure how long I'll be along this trail in Pennsylvania, but my understanding is that it's not too long. I'm guessing probably somewhere around 10 or 15 miles. And then we're gonna cut back over the Delaware River again, cross another bridge back into New York to Callicoon. I'll make a quick stop, just kind of, go through things really quickly. Then we're gonna head back up into the hills. I believe it's partially a couple of miles on road before we get off road again in New York. So looking forward to this route. But here I am, just a couple of minutes into Pennsylvania. I'd swear it was probably less than a half mile from the time I crossed into Pennsylvania that we got off the road onto the trails here. So looking forward to this. It should be a good time. So I love cool old buildings. The trail that I'm on right now was part of the original O&W Railway. This former train station here in Buckingham Valley is not the original one that was actually demolished in 1953. This current station was relocated to this site from Valley Forge, Pennsylvania, about 160 miles from here back in 1970. And just a rock's throw down the road on the right from the train station were these falls. I couldn't resist to stop and look for a little while. We were quick to get back on the trail shortly after, because we knew there would be many more falls along this route. Alright, so just stopped for a waterfall, took some pictures, and I let Scout run around for a little bit. Well, lost about 10 minutes because Scout took off, so minor cardiac to say the least. The last thing I want to do on this trip is lose the dog. It's kind of two things. It's no flat tires, not get too stuck, and not lose the dog. So managed to achieve getting the dog back. I was getting ready to put the drone up in the air to see if I can find her from the sky with her little orange jacket on. Might be another advantage to that orange little suit she's wearing, is that I'll be able to spot her from the sky, worst case scenario. Hopefully I don't have to do that again. But so overall, this trail's been pretty good so far. Definitely started off as just a dirt road, but it's definitely picked up since then. A little bit of an idea of what we're dealing with. So this is between mile 5 and 6. This is where it starts to get a little more technical. We're at about 10 degrees, 12 degrees. So things are definitely starting to pick up a little bit. Yeah, so 12, 13, now it's leveling out pretty quickly. It's a little bit of fun, getting things a little more than just a back dirt road. Got back out onto the road. I will say I did air down a bit. I'm kind of regretting that right now because my back right is a little too low. So just a quick note on tire pressures when doing this route. You will spend a lot of time transitioning between trails and pavement. With this in mind, at no point during section 1 did I come upon a trail that required an air down to lower pressures. I brought my air pressure down about 10 psi for most of the route simply for comfort.
I do want to highlight that you will be on sections of road that have 55 mile per hour speed limits. That being said, please manage your tire pressure based upon your manufacturer's recommendations.
Man, I wish I was having a good steak for dinner tonight.
Hey, be nice.
So I'm along the edge of the Delaware River right now on the Pennsylvania side. It's a beautiful spot over here. And I think probably just like most of us, anytime in February when there's no leaves on the trees, it's nice to see some of these evergreens. Brings a little something extra to you, what you have to see out here. Alright, so I'm still in Pennsylvania. I am just over 14 miles into the route. So hats off to the people who put this route together. I mean, let's face the facts. In the Northeast, it is not easy to connect routes all off-road. It's just the population density in this part of the country is just extreme. I'm having a great time. As I left the Delaware River, the state of Pennsylvania, and started my journey across New York, I was just over 40 miles into the first section and losing daylight quickly. I admittedly got a very late start to the day. It was now almost 5 o'clock and I still had about 45 miles to my planned campsite at Bear Spring Mountain Campground. Little did I know at the time the campgrounds would be closed, and I would need to find an alternative dispersed spot on DEC land not too far down the road. The good news was that I brought along a fair amount of firewood and a pre-cooked dinner, which would be easy to prepare and allow me to settle down quickly. So after about 2 hours of on-road and off-road sections, I finally found a spot where I would be settling in for the night. Temperatures are hovering around 32 degrees Fahrenheit, and some nice dry firewood from home allowed me to start the fire and warm up quickly. After the rest of camp was set up, I got out some of my Super Bowl buffalo chicken dip from the previous night and heated it up quickly. It was a simple dinner and much appreciated after a long day. I would spend the rest of the night enjoying the fire, the stars, and tossing Scout the ball after being a great passenger for most of the day. The next morning we would get an early start. Today there would be no breakfast with bacon. We needed to keep moving if we were going to complete this section early. A fairly good-sized snowstorm was working its way north towards us. I, in this situation, going solo, did not want to risk taking on trails in a fresh snow situation. The weather forecast was calling for about 10 to 12 inches of the fresh white stuff, and it would come in quickly with all of the accumulation in just under 4 hours. My goal was simple: get through the rest of the route into Andes, New York before it got bad. I was now about 25 miles into my 40-mile leg for the day today, and things were just starting to get technical. To be honest, the fun factor was disappearing quickly. I knew I had a long drive ahead of me after completing this trail, and the snow was coming in quickly. Just to make things worse, I hit this. Alright, looks like this is how we're going to start the day today. Kind of expected this. It's February. Trail maintenance is obviously really not taking place right now, but... So I got out and the plan was pretty simple. I was going to winch this tree out of the way on the trail. But unfortunately, that's just not quite what happened. The tree became hung up on the tree next to it as I was pulling, and I quickly realized that this was probably not going to work. Normally in this situation, I would have got the chainsaw out and probably just cut the log out of the way and really helped save the trail. But the truth is, it was too early in the morning, and the last thing I wanted to do is be running a chainsaw in the middle of the woods, not really knowing who lives within a certain distance of this. So I took an alternative route after quickly assessing that this would work. Shortly after completing this section, I was back on the pavement again. This morning had its small obstacles, but overall the trail was fun. It was not too long before I had arrived in Andes and had now completed the first 133-mile section of the Northeast BDR. This BDR, which is the newest of the 13 available, is off to a great start. I am very much looking forward to getting out and enjoying the second leg and maybe the third together in the weeks ahead. Once again, we are so fortunate for the time and effort put into these routes across the U.S. from the great people at Ride BDR. Once again, this is a non-profit, and I would ask that you consider supporting them in any way possible, but also please utilize all of their wonderful resources on their website. So, for now, I'm headed home in this wonderful northeastern winter weather and thinking about when will be the next leg. Thank you for watching JohnKing Expedition, and please take a moment to like and most importantly, subscribe.